Welcome to the latest interview in our Informs Community Showcase series, highlighting the Informs communities and chapters. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. Today, I am joined for our latest showcase by Vinod Cheriyan, Vice President of Chapters and Forums for Informs, to provide a broad look at the Informs communities and their role within Informs. So Vinod, thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So let's start off with, can you tell us about your role with the Informs Board of Directors as the VP of Chapters and Forums and how you came to be involved?
Definitely. So two-part question. So the first part, as the VP of Chapters and Forums, I am the liaison to the board for Chapters and Forums. Along with my co-VP, the VP of Sections and Societies, we cover the full gamut of all subdivisions. And I also work very closely with the VP of International, especially for our international chapters. Mm-hmm. And in my role is to work closely with Inform staff and leadership to provide that strategic direction for how we should operate in our chapters and forums, and how that aligns with Inform's mission and how to take that vision forward.
Wonderful. We very much appreciate your role and contributions.
Thank you. And your question had like a part two too, right?
It did,
like how I got
I got ahead of myself.
No worries. Yeah. So like most folks, like I got into Informs from my PhD times at Georgia Tech. So I was a student presenting my research at regional conferences and at the annual conference. And then once I graduated and got into industry, I was connected with the Chicago chapter, and where I joined the board. And I was there with the Chicago chapter for about 5 or 6 years, serving various roles in the committee. And eventually I became president. And then I kind of graduated, so to speak, to the Subdivisions Council, where I was the chapter representative, and I drove the IRAC Guidelines and Chapter Excellence Awards. And earlier this year, I stood for the election, and I was elected as the VP of Chapters and Forums. So it was a very enjoyable journey. It all started a long time ago, and like I enjoyed every moment of it.
Wonderful. So I'd love to have you tell us a little bit more about the communities and chapters and how they sort of function within this broader Informs community.
I've said this like N times, but subdivisions are the arms and legs of Informs, right? So that is where the real action happens, because they act very locally and like very in the field, right? So chapters especially come in different flavors. So there are chapters that are associated with schools, like they are the student chapters, and they primarily serve the student population. Regional chapters are those which bring together industry, academia, and students and provide services for based on a region. And we also have a couple of international chapters as well. Forums, on the other hand, they are not geographic. They align on cross-cutting principles, across geography. So WORMS, for example, right? So for women, Pride Forum, right? So, and they also serve our community. So our vision is to provide basically homes for every member of Informs, right? So one or more, I say plural, because you can have more than one professional home within Informs, right?
Exactly.
So, and we want to kind of align everything to the Informs mission. How these things are organized, we have the Chapters and Forums Committee that I chair, which kind of provide that oversight and guidance and support that's needed. The Subdivisions Council also helps with some of the things. And then me as the VP and my fellow VP connect with the board, and we bring up the voice of Chapters and Forums to the board. And in turn, right, the guidances and directions from the board, we share it with the various subdivisions.
That's wonderful. It's all interconnected. That's great. So I'd love to know, what Informs communities do you belong to? I think you mentioned the Chicago chapter?
Yes,
okay.
I was very active in the Chicago chapter. I most recently, we restarted the San Francisco Bay Area chapter. So there is a meetup happening later today.
Excellent.
If you're interested to stop by. So that's one. I've been a member of the Analytics Society for a couple of years now, especially as part of like working through some of the IRACs. Like, so so those are some of the subdivisions that I myself am part of.
Wonderful. So I'd love to take that question to the next level. And what do you feel like the impact of belonging to these different communities have been, both for you and sort of the direction and advancement of your career?
Definitely, that is a great question. It has been like very valuable, which is the primary reason why, despite it being like 100% voluntary and on top of a full-time career,
Yes.
people like myself, like, we all, and my fellow board members and like chapter officers, they put their heart into it. Being able to work on the Chicago chapter board, for example, like, it gave me a lot of opportunities which may not have been easy on like the regular career side, right? So for example, defining the strategy of the chapter, like, how do you drive an organization forward? Like, how do you manage and lead other very senior folks who are also volunteers in the committee, right? So all those have been like great learning experiences, and it has also been very fulfilling experience. So it kind of, I think, like, I developed as a good chunk of the attribution of how I developed as a leader goes to my work in the Informs various subdivisions and chapters.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So we are recording in person at the 2024 Informs annual meeting in Seattle, which has record attendance. I think we're well over 7,000 people, many of whom are brand new to Informs. What advice would you give to a new Informs member about the value of joining a community or a chapter or something like that?
Definitely. So I actually have a two-part advice. Like,
Perfect. I won't interrupt this time. I won't get ahead of myself.
Yes. So step one is like, we have about like 20 regional chapters, 50 student chapters, and 6 forums, right? So the chances are that no matter what area you work, what technology you use, what tool you use, what company or what industry, we have a home for you, right? And so step one would be like, find what community, what are your one or more homes, right? And join them. And if you cannot find a home, start one, right? So be empowered to start one, talk to one of us. We are here to like help you create that, right? So that's step one. Step two, right? So just like in your personal home, like, you're not just a passive member. You don't sit there and, okay, the home happens. You take an active role in defining making your home, right? So that takes some action and taking responsibility. Exactly like that. Your professional home is your home, and you can feel empowered to, like, step in, take up responsibility. And if you like something, encourage that. If you don't like something, change that, right? So how do you do that? Like, it can be something as simple as giving a webinar, like, in your section or like in your chapter, right? It can be like joining the committee as a volunteer or as an officer, or spreading the word, right? So take that active responsibility and make one or more of the communities that you're part of your home. So that's like the 2-step. Like, first one is like, find a home. If it doesn't exist, create it. Second one is own your home.
Really lean into it.
Yes, exactly.
Vinod, thank you so much for joining me. I hope the rest of your annual meeting here in Seattle is fantastic, and I really appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Wonderful. And to our listeners, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for even more great content throughout the coming year.